It's back, ladies and gents. Mindseye, it's returned to the news. Mindseye devs, UK workforce of around 300 have received at-risk emails as former GTA lead Leslie Benzies finally addresses staff. So after Mindseye launched, it, of course, didn't go too hot. It is currently, among like AAA releases, like big releases, it is the worst reviewed game of 2025. It seems to have been a catastrophic failure. It lost a ton of money. PlayStation even overrided some of their policies to allow for refunds, much more streamlined than they typically do. Normally, you buy something on PlayStation, you play it for an hour. If you want a refund, you're just kind of screwed. Whereas Steam lets you do it very, very easily. It looks like PlayStation put a little tag on Mindseye for customer support to allow refunds much faster, which is always a good thing for the consumer. But since all of that went down, Leslie Benzies has pretty much been silent. There's been other leadership at the studio that's kind of addressed some of the concerns and addressed gamers, saying they're going to fix it, they're going to do this and that. But the big guy in charge, Leslie, he has stayed quiet. And if you don't know who this is Leslie Benzies, a Scottish video game producer. As far as I can tell, I tried to find videos. No, he does not wear a kilt to work every day. I know, I was curious about it too, as someone with a lot of Scottish blood in me. If you've seen my thighs, you know what's up. You can see for yourself. I've got the Scottish thighs. If you don't know what those are, it's like if you buy a pair of pants, you will wear holes right in the grundle because of the friction, because your thighs are built like, you know, barrels. It's very difficult. You know, we are a people that struggle greatly. But he left Rockstar North a handful of years ago. And his claim to fame was that he was a producer and the former president of Rockstar North, one of the big main teams of Rockstar. And he had worked on Red Dead, he had worked on GTA 5, GTA Online, GTA 4. So he had a pretty impressive resume, you know? It looked good, dare I say. And in 2018, he founded a company called Build a Rocket Boy, and he wanted to create this like cool, crazy thing that was basically gonna be like, kind of like what Fortnite is, you know, like everywhere game. This was the original, no, I don't think this is a 2023 trailer. It was supposed to be this big platform where you can go in with your friends, and these are all players. Everybody you see are all players, and you go through, you can play different game modes and matches, design your own game modes, your own like level design, all of that. I mean, come on, dude, that looks like it's taken straight out of Fortnite. I mean, come on. That character looks just like it. But that was part of the vision. And then at the very end of this trailer, they showed this little snippet. Okay. This little snippet coming up right here. What's that? What was that? What was that? That was Mindseye. So they're showing it on a screen within the game. So Mindseye was supposed to basically be a game within the game of everywhere. And eventually, in my humble opinion, I think they ran out of money, and I think they needed to try to get some cash. So they decided to launch this game within the game as its own game to fund the production of the game that was supposed to be the game that this game was within. You tracking? Yeah. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes total sense. So this whole thing has been a bit of a disaster. Been a bit of a disaster. There were allegations of all sorts of toxic work environments, of how if you wanted to move up in the company, you had to basically make Leslie feel like a genius. If you wanted to not get laid off or made redundant, you needed to just do whatever leadership said. There was no sort of very like back and forth. You could not disagree with the vision. You had to just smile and nod. You know, you just had to smile and nod. And that was all just kind of allegations for a while, but you'll see as we go through this, it really seems like there was a good amount of truth in those allegations from what we're seeing now. So what they've done is they've sent a email blasting out to their 300 employees roughly, discussing how they are all basically at risk now of being made redundant. So issued an at-risk of redundancy email to around its 300 strong UK workforce. This basically just primes the waters for for the layoffs that are inevitably going to hit. And this was after they already did a round of layoffs shortly after the game came out. Sources familiar with the goings-on inside the embattled studio told IGN at-risk emails were also sent to staff at PlayFusion, which BARB acquired late 2024. PlayFusion, whose CEO Mark Gerhard became co-CEO of BARB as part of the buyout, is working on a different game, a fast-paced FPS called Ascendant, which was meant to come out this year. Last month, IGN reported that Build a Rocket Boy had begun redundancy process following the release of Mindseye. The standard 45-day consultation process kicked off June 23rd. Okay, so I could have been wrong about the layoffs already hitting. This is what I was talking about. So I guess they started it, but they didn't actually finish it. So it's still happening. Let's see, which according to UK law is triggered when an employer proposes 100 or more redundancies within a 90-year period. So it's a UK law that requires them to do a 45-day consultation process before they can just fire all of those people. IGN understands that BARB currently has around 300 UK employees and 200 abroad. You would not have thought that Mindseye was made by a team that big, right? Like, I think the total number of people working on The Witcher 4 is less than this total team size. I think they have like 400 people working on Witcher 4, and that, you know, these guys are rocking 500 employees. So kind of crazy, dude. Like it's a big team, but a lot of that team was built with money that was thrown at them because of Leslie's reputation, because of his pedigree, because he's like, yeah, I made GTA Online. I made all these amazing games. Give me money. I can make you your own GTA Online. That was the vision, at least. That was the idea. At the time, BARB issued a statement confirming the redundancy process, insisting the cuts will let the studio, quote, focus on delivering ongoing updates and performance optimization for Mindseye while ensuring the long-term success of Build a Rocket Boy, blah, blah, blah. Soon after it launched, they said that they were heartbroken with the issues, which always feels weird to me when they're like, we're heartbroken. Not everybody's enjoying our game as much as we wanted them to. It's like, bitch, you knew the game was broken. You know, I don't think you get to be heartbroken. You know, it's like you sell me a car that, let's say the transmission is blown and it's just done. And so I got screwed. And then I go back to you and I say, hey, I want my money back. You sold me a lemon of a car. And you go, yeah, I'm heartbroken. You're not liking the car. It's like, you knew the transmission was broken when you sold it to me. You don't get to be heartbroken. Like, you were trying to screw me. What do you mean? What do you mean? Doesn't make any sense. But I guess they're heartbroken. All the while, Mindseye Troubled launch saw the developer cancel sponsored streams, with reports of players securing refunds, even from the normally stubborn Sony, surfacing online. Yeah, who was it? There was one streamer who was starting the stream. Oh, it was Ko. I think Ko was starting the stream and he got an email as he's about to launch the game. I think it was actually booting up, just saying, yeah, let's cancel the sponsored stream. Don't bother. And so he closes the app and launches Dune. He's like, okay, I guess we're not doing it. That's how crazy this got, that they were frantically canceling sponsored streams at the last possible second. Yeah, the game hit a peak of concurrent player counts of 3,300 at launch, but it had a 24-hour peak of just 46 players as of the time of writing this, I assume. At the time of this article's publication, 26 people were playing on Steam, where Mindseye has a mostly negative user review rating. Yep. So, story-driven action-adventure game, Mindseye was initially designed to be part of Everywhere, the Roblox for adults. I don't think I ever called it Roblox for adults, but that is basically what it was going to be. That's probably a better way of describing it. Roblox for adults, creation platform led by former Grand Theft Auto design chief Leslie Benzies. BRB eventually switched to focus on Mindseye, but it has so far failed to do business for the company. Yeah, it was supposed to be a cash injection, and it seems like it has just been a total disaster. You know, it did the opposite. Lost a lot. Meanwhile, BARB sources told IGN that Benzies finally addressed staff following the release of the game in a brief video call yesterday, July 2nd. According to two people present who were asked not to be named, obviously, Benzies insisted that Build a Rocket Boy would bounce back and relaunch the game, Mindseye, blaming the studio and the game's struggles on internal and external saboteurs. Internal and external saboteur. What is that? What is the allegation? Is the allegation that, like, you know, GTA 6 devs or you know, Take-Two Interactive had a spy on the inside that forced them to rush the game out or something? What does that even mean? They blame the studio and game's struggles on internal and external saboteurs. Saboteur implies that it's also intentional. Like, they are trying to break things. They're trying to destroy it from the inside. It's not like incompetence, you know, internally and externally. He's saying that there were people intentionally trying to ruin the game. Like, do you see what I mean? When the allegations before the game came out were that this guy's a bit of an egomaniac and refuses to take accountability, refuses to think that he could do anything wrong. Like, he believes he is the smartest person in the room, and if you want to get promoted, you have to make him happy and blah, blah, blah. That's what people have been saying for ages about him. And now it's starting to really sound like that may be the case.
Jira database, and that'll get sent out to devs to fix. You do have to play the whole thing, and that's what takes time. You've got to do a full playthrough. We've got to notice. So
he admitted that he did multiple full playthroughs of the game. He knew how bad it was, and yet he's blaming the reception on saboteurs. Like, what? That's delusion, my friends. That's delusion. You know what the deal is? If you release a broken, crappy game that you knew was broken and crappy, it's not going to sell well. You're going to lose money and people will laugh at you. And you know what? That's what you get. You chose to release the crappy game that you knew was crappy. Now,
live with the consequences.
That's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. The comments rekindle memories of those issued by Mark Gerhard ahead of the release of Mindseye. The co-CEO hit the headlines for claiming there was a concerted effort by some to trash the game and the studio. This came after yours truly made a couple of videos that kind of popped off about Mindseye, and then, you know, it was picked up by some other outlets, websites, even IGN eventually started talking about it. For a while, IGN didn't discuss like how bad it was, but eventually they came around. And the allegation was that we were paid off. And it was heavily suggested that we were paid off by like Rockstar, and it's because they were scared that this game would affect the sales and performance of GTA 6. Again, like, delusion, okay? I wasn't paid off by big single player to talk about how bad Suicide Squad was. I wasn't paid off by Overwatch to talk about how bad Concord was. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. It's just like, what's more likely? There is a gigantic scandal. There's a gigantic concerted effort of like spies and backroom deals to pay off streamers and YouTubers to talk poorly about your product because they're threatened by it, or your game that's really buggy and broken just doesn't look very good and people are calling it out. Like, it does not require a scandal. It doesn't. You know, Occam's razor. Yeah, exactly. Accept the solution that has the fewest variables. And in this case, you know, there's other sayings. Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence or you know, stupidity. Or in this case, never attribute to a massive like conspiracy that which can be totally explained by your own incompetence. And in this case, yeah. I mean, you don't need a crazy conspiracy to explain why people were making videos about this game. You know, you just don't. Immortal Fish, thank you for that. It is confirmed Luke Stevens is a paid actor. Yeah, I mean, they said so. So there you go. That's all the evidence you need, apparently. So yeah, suggesting people were being paid or using spam bots to post negative comments. The boss of publisher IO Interactive, which makes the Hitman games, subsequently issued a denial. Hitman Boss says he doesn't believe people are being paid to post negative comments about Mindseye. I just think the game should speak for itself. Yeah, can you imagine having that opinion? Can you imagine just being like, no, if people don't like the game, it's probably because they don't like the game, not because they're being paid. Like, what? And also, for everybody else on the planet, we could see there was no fear from Rockstar. Like, why would Rockstar be scared of Mindseye? Like, even if Mindseye was going to be amazing, Why would they be scared of them? Like, they're gonna have time, they're gonna release later. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. You know, and I mean, this whole thing has been a disaster. When we went to the IOI showcase thing, so I was here, you can kind of see my head. I'm sat like right here in the front row, just where everybody's walking in. So I was at this event. It was really, really beautiful. It was at the Roosevelt Hotel? It was super cool. It was super cool. But they went through, did this little showcase. It gave me like old school Ubisoft showcase vibes. It was a fun time. But this guy is the head of IOI. He's the head of all of this. And, you know, they spent most of the time talking about 007. But at one point they did... Where is it? At one point they did bring out one of the like associate producers. Let's see. Assistant game director, Adam Whiting. And I genuinely felt bad for this guy. Like, everybody in the room was asking about 007. That's all they wanted to talk about. This game came out, I think 2 days after this showcase, or 3 days after this showcase. And nobody was talking about it. They didn't have it like as a playable demo, and he had to try and hype it up. It was crazy.
Silmer donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Conspiracy theorists accuse IGN of being paid off for reviews all the time, and it is both funny and frustrating. IGN discloses when paid off. Barb paid them for a news segment and still got a 4.
Yeah, I think what happens is that there are some people who legitimately think that like there are actual checks being written out for $10,000. Here, please give us a 10 out of 10. That is like ridiculous to think that that actually happens in the industry. The more nuanced version of that opinion is people thinking that those outlets or reviewers, YouTubers, streamers, what have you, they will kind of couch their opinion and be more gentle because they want to retain access. So, you know, for example, if you are like a Call of Duty streamer or YouTuber, you want to be invited to the big Call of Duty event. So when the new game comes out and doesn't look great, you could tear into it, or you could be a little bit more gentle, be like, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll keep an open mind, because you want to remain like in that pool. You want to keep access. You don't want to rock the boat too much, you know? You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. So like there's two versions of the like paid off accusation, and you know, one is patently absurd. The other one, maybe there's something to it. In my experience, some companies do respond better to criticism and critique than others. I had made a lot of videos about Mindseye at this point when I was still invited to this event. I was genuinely surprised they invited me. I don't think Adam was happy, but they invited me, and I thought that was cool of them. You know, it spoke a lot to their willingness to still invite a critic of one of their biggest games that they put on the showcase. So props to them for still doing that. Props. But there are other companies that do not respond as well. Xbox. Yeah, dude, the stories I could tell you, the things that have gone on, you don't even know. You don't even know. Oh my God, there's so much tea. Tell you what, so much tea. But that's a story for another time. Yeah, that's a story for another time. Yeah, in my experience, it's different companies at Xbox. Like, for example, they sent me a Starfield review code, which props to them. I don't think I expected that. I don't think anybody expected that. After the fact, I believe that was more of an accident. I don't think they realized I was on the email list to get review codes, but I'm still happy that I got access to it. Very thankful. Props to them for doing that, because I was more of a critic of Starfield leading up to it. I didn't think it looked all that amazing. And I let people know for sure. But there's other groups like within the corporate tier of Xbox that I don't think appreciate harsher criticism or critique. I don't think they like that. Now look at them. Who's laughing now? Yeah, anyway, going back to Mindseye though. Going back to Mindseye. This is absolutely insane. This is absolutely insane. When they did this showcase, you know, it was because they had put a lot of money into Build a Rocket Boy. They had poured millions upon millions, probably at this point, hundreds of millions of dollars into Build a Rocket Boy, because IOI started a new publishing arm and they went and bought didn't buy, but they were publishing Build a Rocket Boy, putting a ton of money into it. Build a Rocket Boy, despite having never made anything before, was getting crazy funding to have 300 developers locally and then 200 more internationally. That's wild. That's crazy and very expensive. That money was coming because they believed in the vision. They thought that Leslie Benzies was going to deliver on something really remarkable, really transformational. And it just turns out it was pretty delusional, you know. But it's as always, people blinded by dollars, people blinded by that money, baby. Like, did you know that one of the biggest gaming companies in the world is a company that makes a game that you probably don't play, but that is very, very popular among toddlers and looks like this? Yeah, Roblox. Do you know how much the company that makes Roblox is worth? The company was founded in 2004. They have a $70 billion market cap. 70 billion. They are valued at the same price about as Activision Blizzard King. Figure that one out. Figure that one out. You know that company that makes Call of Duty, Candy Crush, that makes, Overwatch, WoW, all of those things? Yeah, this company is worth just as much as that giga corporation. That's wild. But that's why they were willing to throw so much money at Mindseye and at Build a Rocket Boy, because their goal was to come out and make Roblox for adults. And that's kind of how it was pitched. That's how it was pitched. They wanted to make Roblox for adults and get basically a platform for people to come in and build their own experiences, which is what Roblox does, and provide that platform. And then they would get a piece of the pie anytime any money goes through the platform. Because again, the way you really make money in any industry is not necessarily by making the product, it's by making the platform and making the system through which the product moves. You know, like Amazon makes products. They make Amazon Basics products and they sell those, of course. They have their own, video service. They have their own pharmacy. They have all of that stuff. Absolutely. But where Amazon makes a ton of their money is from like server infrastructure, like the cloud systems that they built initially for like just their websites and everything. Now I believe they actually own the servers that are used for like Netflix. They own the platform, and that's where the money actually is. Yeah, AWS. It's crazy. It started as a small little side project, and now that's where the majority of their revenue comes from. It's not even from selling their own products. And Amazon as a storefront, of course, also follows a similar vein, where they created a platform that they provide other people's products, and then they get a little slice of every single little thing that comes along the way. Same with Steam. Steam makes ridiculous money because every time you buy something through them, they take 30% as their cut for giving the platform and creating the platform and hosting everything. That's where the real money is. So when Leslie came to these guys and said, hey, I want to create Roblox, but for adults, adults, those people who have their own money. Like if Roblox was able to be worth $70 billion as a platform for mainly kids, imagine how much our platform would be worth if like our player base were adults that had expendable income. Worth 10 times this. Be the biggest thing ever. So you can understand why a 60-year-old investor who has no idea anything pertaining to video games, why they might throw millions at a Leslie Benzies, because it kind of makes sense. If you pitch it like that, it kind of makes sense. It's not that realistic or practical in practice, but it kind of makes sense. So they give him the money to make Everywhere and to make this big AAA game within the Everywhere platform and to do all of this within the game, and could work if they had more billions of dollars to continue pumping it out. How much is Steam worth? It's not super clear. I heard one estimated price point at like 15 billion. Some people have said it's like 50 billion. Who knows? It's privately held. So it's not, they don't have to disclose financials. They don't have to disclose any of that. It's basically just speculation and trying to infer from all of that how much it's worth. But yeah, what we do know is that Gabe is doing very, very well. This is his yacht. Okay. I believe he has multiple. Yeah, he has $100 million yacht. And then this, I think, is his newer one. It's his second. And I can't keep track, but he's doing okay. Okay. He's doing okay. He's going to be just fine. Yeah, he's going to be just fine. But anyway, going back to this, because this is all roundabout. This clip is going to be like an hour long. Going all the way back to Mindseye, just trying to keep on track a little bit. It's hard for me sometimes. BARB sources told IGN that internally there is a desire for a Mindseye Redemption arc that would eventually see it becoming successful for the studio. But as staff face an anxious wait to discover their fate, there are serious questions over whether BARB will be able to fulfill its post-launch roadmap for the content, including the promised multiplayer game mode on time. Earlier this week, BARB released Mindseye third post-release update on console with a PC release to follow. Quote, we've watched hundreds of hours of gameplay footage and reviewed player feedback across multiple channels to prioritize the most pressing issues and improve the experience for all our console players. And this is something people asked when this first happened. They're like, Luke, do you think that they can have like a Cyberpunk Redemption or a No Man's Sky Redemption? And personally, I don't think so. I encourage them to try. Because I think it would be better for them to fix it than leave it. But I personally don't think so. Because in the case of Cyberpunk and in the case of No Man's Sky, those were games people really wanted and were super hyped for that then disappointed them. In the case of Mindseye, I don't think the hype was ever that high. I don't think there was ever anywhere near that level of interest. So even if they fix it, you know, I don't see how it comes back. Because in the case of Cyberpunk, everybody was like, okay, deliver that product to me and I will buy it. And then the product that they delivered at launch was well below that quality standard, so they didn't buy it. But once it eventually reached that level of quality, they bought it. In the case of Mindseye, I don't think there was ever that many people going, achieve that level of quality and I'll buy it. So when it didn't reach that level, of course they didn't buy it. But I think even if it reaches that level of quality, I still don't think there's that many people to buy it, you know? So I don't see it happening. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. I expect that they're going to have pretty hardcore layoffs hit and eventually money will dry up. Because, I mean, how likely is it that IOI is going to get more funding or give more funding for more Mindseye work? I don't think they're that thrilled with how this whole thing went. I think they're pretty peeved about it, frankly. So I think it's more likely that they do the first round of layoffs and then we're going to get news that they've canceled the Everywhere platform. They're going to try to support Mindseye and then they're going to shut down support of that too. And it's just going to dissolve. I think that that's most likely what's going to happen because you can't shake the bad PR in this whole debacle that easily. It just doesn't work. But I mean, my main takeaway is how insane it is to suggest that the game's struggles were a result of internal and external saboteurs. I mean, that is like straight up delusion, wacky, crazy pants time stuff to say. And that's pretty hardcore in like the denial step of grief. Like I understand he's been working on this game for years and years and years and years. I get that. But right now, he is right here. He is hardcore in the denial phase. Hardcore. Eventually, he's going to have to move on to bargaining where he's going to be like, okay, yes, the game was bad, but we're going to fix it. Okay? Everything is okay. We can do this. And then it's not fixing, or he does start to fix some stuff and it's not working out. People still aren't buying it. He's going to be like, screw this. Everybody has betrayed me. In the words of Tommy Wiseau, I'm alone in this world. He's going to freak out. And then he's going to get really sad because they're going to have to shut down the studio, do layoffs and stuff. The money will dry up. And then he'll get to acceptance where he's just going to be like, okay, yep, it didn't work. Maybe it's my fault. It just didn't work. And then move on. But I think he's bouncing between denial, bargaining and anger, and he's just bing, 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 bing between these three. And until he can get to the point where he can like accept that this really is at the end of the day on studio leadership and poor management and all that, that this is just where he's at. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But they claim they want to relaunch it, which I agree would be amazing. It would be captivating, dare I say, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be making a video in a year. I tried Mindseye again, and it's amazing, but I personally kind of doubt it. We'll see. He took my thing.